Hello. I just thought I'd do a fast and dirty crash course to Savage Worlds. But I thought I would do this so that people see, if you are from my TikTok and you see me talking about Savage Worlds, you can come here and watch this quick video and I can give you a quick rundown of what the system looks like and how it works. Here we go, this is going to be rambly, but we'll try our best. Alright, Savage Worlds' tagline is Fast, Furious, Fun. It's a quick game. The rules are still intricate where they need to be, but they're also built in a way that they flow, and they flow really well. A lot of it's similar to games like Dungeons & Dragons, and then a lot of it's different. Namely, it's not a D20 system. Any task you're trying to perform, with the exception of a few cases, which I'll name here in a bit, to succeed at any task, attack, a skill, the equivalent of a saving throw, all you gotta do is roll a 4. Bonuses and negatives included, has to reach the number 4. 4 is a success. Difficulty class is represented by negatives or bonuses. By doing this, the math becomes a lot simpler, so you just have to look for the number 4. There's this concept called wildcards. Player characters, big bad evil guys, villains, and some allies, other NPCs, are wildcards. They're movers and shakers, okay? Their decisions matter more, they have more gravity, and they're more powerful individuals overall. Everyone else is called an extra. Wildcards get a roll of what's something called the wild die. So that means anytime they roll any skill, attribute, attack, anything like that, they get a roll an extra d6, and take the higher of the two results. Next thing to talk about is what attributes and skills look like. So you have 5 attributes: agility, smarts, spirit, strength, your vigor. Next thing I want to explain, I'm kind of just going through the character sheet. Actually, I'll put up a picture of the character sheet right here. And if you want to like freeze frame and take that, there's that. I'll also link in the description, I'll put a link to a PDF of it if you guys want. Anyway, the next thing to talk about is something called hindrances. So, unlike in D&D, where you have, for your, not subclass, for your background, you're gonna go in and you have your background, and then it comes with like your traits, bonds, ideals, and flaws, right? You can roll. They're kind of optional, but you can roll for them, or you can select, or you can come up with your own, and that's a really awesome mechanic. It helps give flavor to a character and give you a really easy bullet points for personality. So I'll take a drink. One complaint I do have is that there is no mechanical enforcement nor benefit of using them and role-playing them, other than fun role-playing, and then that's obviously, sometimes that's all you need, but sometimes you want more than that. And the only actual mechanic is usually DM awarding inspiration, but you know, that doesn't stack, and a lot of DMs kind of ignore that or forget because there's a lot to think about. In Savage Worlds, you have something called hindrances. Now, a hindrance is basically a bad thing. It's a character flaw, a foible, a weakness, and you take them at character creation. By taking them, you're able to get more, essentially perks starting out. They're called edges. And edges is what covers things like different, like what we would consider in 5th edition like class traits. Like that's how you get things like a extra attack and stuff, or the equivalent of an extra attack. It's edges and stuff. That's also how you get magic spells. You can get berserk, which is essentially rage. You can all those things are edges, and by taking hindrances, you get more character creation. There is a mechanical reason to play to them. No one can make you. When you roleplay cleverly, according to the rules for the Game Master, he's supposed to give you something called a Benny. Now, Benny is it's short for benefit. I think of it as a redo token, or a fate chip, is a way to look at it. At the beginning of the game, it's standard that every player starts with 3 every session, and then at the end of the session, the wipe clean, you start with 3 fresh ones at the beginning of the next session, so they don't bank over. But you can use these bennies for things like re-rolling a skill check, re-rolling damage, affecting fate minorly. When you roleplay well to your character, the GM will award bennies, or at least he should. You can even do things like soaking damage. When you take a massive hit, you can use your benny to roll your vigor and to try to absorb some of the blow, and if you roll high enough, you can just negate it. Another thing I should explain, I should put this all there. Exploding dice. So there's a concept in Savage Worlds with almost all die rolls, unless you're rolling on a table for like an outcome of fear or an injury. Besides those situations, the dice, what's called explode, or ace. Basically, when you roll a die, if the number that comes up is the maximum number of the die, so a 4 on a d4, 6 on a d6, etc., then you roll again, and you add that to the total. That is how critical hits and critical successes work. You can't just roll in that 20, but There's variable degrees of good success. Another concept I should go over before I continue after this is the concept of raises. The target number, which is almost always 4, remember, whenever you roll 4 above that, it's called a raise. So that's 4 is a success, 8 1 raise, 12 2 raises, 16 3 raises, and so forth. Raises give additional benefits. When dealing damage, if you get a raise on the attack roll or the shooting roll, not the damage roll, but an attack or shooting roll, then you roll an extra d6 and add that to the total of the damage. Dice can also, even the extra one, they can ace, and they do pool together. Other things give not just a single raise, but for every raise above, you do even better. An example of this is like if you're using a healing spell, the healing power. Every success, you heal a wound, and every raise, you heal a wound. So if you roll insanely high, you could just cure someone really well. Same with soaking damage using a Benny. Every success and raise, you soak a wound. Parry, toughness, and wounds. So you don't have armor class. In Savage Worlds, you have 2 statistics. Your parry. Your parry is determined by your fighting skill, which is what you roll for attacks. You take your fighting skill, cut it in half, and add 2. So if your fighting skill is a d6, half that is 3, add 2, 5 is your parry. That means that, and your parry is the target number for melee attacks against you. You have to roll not against the 4 is not a success. You have to roll against their parry and beat that. Now, raises work the same in that it's a sliding scale of 4, so let's say that their parry was a 5. Well, that means now that, 5 is a success, 9 is 1 raise, 13 2 raises, 17 3 raises, so on. That's how parry works. It's just how hard it is to land a blow against you. Then you have toughness. Now, toughness, like we talked about before, is determined by your vigor. Armor also adds to toughness, so instead of armor giving you armor class, armor comes into account when you get hit. Armor adds to the toughness depending on what area it covers. Once damage is dealt to you in excess of your toughness, you gain a condition called shaken. That just means that you felt the blow, and now you're shaken. When you're shaken, you cannot take actions other than movement and speaking aloud on your turn. You can't attack. You're shook. At the beginning of your turn, you get a free spirit roll for your spirit attribute. You get a free spirit roll to unshake. You just need a basic success, 4 or better, and you can roll the wild die with that too. Or at any time you can spend a Benny to get rid of it, even if it's not your turn. Let's say you want to counterattack somebody, or someone's leaving your threatened space, and you want to stab them as they run away, but you're shaken. You can spend a Benny and immediately do that, which is why you want to roleplay your hindrances so you get those Bennies so you can do that. Once you're shaken, if somebody deals damage again to you in excess of your toughness, or if you get a raise on somebody, even if they're not shaken on the damage roll, let's say they have a toughness of 9, let's say that you roll a 13. That's a raise. So not only are you shaken, you've dealt 1 wound. And then it goes, and then if you have 2 raises on the 13, so that's now a 17, that's 2 raises, that's shaken, and 2 wounds. And it keeps going. And that's when you want to soak, when someone deals that insanely high damage, and you're like, wow, this is going to knock me out or kill me. I better soak up this damage, otherwise I'm dead. Wild cards, player characters can take 3 wounds. Every wound gives you a cumulative -1 to all attribute and skill rolls, so that includes attacks. On your 4th wound, you can get incapacitated, but I'll go over that in another video. Now we have skills. So there's a lot of skills. So you don't have to go over all of them, but this is how it works. At character creation, there are the 5 core stats, and these are athletics, common knowledge, which is the knowledge skill for stuff your character would know, it's your memory kind of, stealth, notice, and persuasion. Those are the things that people can do intuitively. You start with a D4 in all of those skills. On top of that, you have 12 points that you can spend to upgrade and select other skills. It costs a point to get them to a D4 and a point to upgrade them one dice level for every level. So a D4 to D6 costs 1. D6 to D8 costs 1. Until, this is how attributes link to skills. Until you get to the point where your skill is the same dice value as its linked attribute. So fighting is linked to agility. Let's say you have a D8 in agility. So you spend 1 point in the character creation to get it to D4, another one to D6, and a 3rd point to get it to D8. Now it's equal to your agility. Well, you can still train and go beyond your just raw agility and hone this particular skill. But now it costs 2 points per level. So let's say you want to go from a D8 to a D10, which is 1 dice level above the linked attribute, agility. That costs 2 points. That's how that works. So that's how your attributes determine how easy it is to advance and learn other skills. And then you have edges. And edges are really fun. Edges they're a mix of basically character features, perks, abilities. If you want to be a wizard, you take the arcane background, the arcane background magic edge, one edge, and you can start being a wizard. Novice, like 10 power points and a few spells. And you can take edges that give you more. You want to be extra sneaky? Well, take edges that like thief or assassin. You want to be fast? Fleet-footed. You want to see well? You take alert, so just +2 to all your notice rolls. It can get it's really cool, the versatility of things. There's magic, there's background stuff, there's combat, there's social, there's leadership, legendary edges, weird edges like being a Beastmaster and getting an animal companion, or being a holy champion, things like that. You can get one called Liquid Courage, which just means that, hey, yeah, if you take a drink, then you become tougher. So if you want to play Drunken Masters, depending on what race you pick, we'll assume human for the purposes. Humans, their racial trait is they get 1 free edge at character creation, and then assuming you took enough hindrances earlier, you get to pick 2 more edges. Edges do have qualification. You pick those, and then your character's pretty much done, except for if you're magically using its powers, which will go over in the video. Then you go pick equipment, and you armor, shield, weapons. Last thing I want to go over is how leveling works. So there are no character classes in Savage Worlds. There's also no levels, at least not in the traditional sense. There's ranks and there's advances. Here's how it works. At the end of every session, the game master will award an experience points to the group based on how he felt the session went, and it can be 1 to 3 experience points, depending on if it was very short and they didn't get well done. 1 good session, 2, and if they got through everything and then some, maybe 3. It's up to them how they award it. But basically, every 5 experience points, you get an advance. When you get an advance, you can do a few things. You can either get a new edge, you can increase an attribute once per rank. So you can do it basically once every 4 advances. You can increase an attribute, or you get 2 points to increase skills, which means you could increase 2 skills by 1 point as long as they're under their linked attributes value, or you can increase a skill 1 above its linked attribute one step. So that's how leveling works and increasing works. You get to decide every step of the way. Every 4 advances, you go up in rank. So you start as a novice, hero, or adventurer, or explore, whatever kind of setting. You start as novice, then you advance. You get 5 XP, first advance, another 5, second advance, another 5, third advance, and then another 5, fourth advance. So you have a total of 20 experience points or 4 advances, and on that 4th advance, you are now seasoned. You are a seasoned adventurer. And that means that there's a wider range of edges you can take. There's some that you won't qualify for till higher ranks. But so yeah, you start as novice, then you're seasoned after your first 4 advances. 4 more advances, and then you are a veteran. 4 more, and you are heroic. You're a hero. 4 more, and you're legendary. That's how that works. And if you think about it, okay, so there's 5 ranks, 4 advances per rank. That's 20. Okay, so it's a little kind of similar to D&D in a way. It looks much different, but you can see the parallels there. I like that it's very simple. There's no challenge ratings for monsters, and there's no experience awarded in-game for what you defeat or how you defeat it. You get experience for playing and showing up. Maybe you don't kill anything. Diplomance your way through everything, or you stealth your way through everything, or bribe. However you want to do it. I'll do a quick blurb about combat here at the end. Combat works a little differently. You don't have initiative, you don't roll for initiative, you use a deck of cards. Every round, every player or group of NPCs is dealt an action card. It's descending, ace high descending, and you deal it out every round. And once you get to the last person in the round, you collect all the cards, you deal them out again. If you get dealt a joker, then all the players or the DM, if it's one of the NPCs, the bad NPCs that gets it, they each get a new Benny, an additional Benny, and that player gets to go first, and they get some other benefits as well. On your turn, you can take up to 3 actions, and you can run if you want to. The multi-actions work this way. You can take 1 action, and there's no penalties. If you take 2 actions, they're rushed. So that means there's -2 to both rolls, depending on what you're doing. And if you take 3, each skill roll or attribute roll or whatever you do takes a -4 to it. It gives characters versatility in that way. Another cool thing is that you can called shots are a thing. Aiming for different parts of the body is built in very easily. Just each part has a negative associated with it. Torso -0, limbs -2, head or vitals -4. Extra small targets like eye slits or gaps in armor -6. It's really up to the game master to come up with, and it's based on a scale based on the relative size of the target. Same thing with cover, how much it covers and what it covers. For example, if you are standing behind a wall but your head is perfectly visible and the character is not said, hey, I'm ducking down and looking up, okay, well, you can aim at their head. Their head's not in cover. They're holding it up, so it's as easy to shoot as if they weren't in cover. And in that way, it flows really quickly. Anyone can attempt to disarm people. You just aim for the opponent's weapon, hand, or arm. Anyone can try to headshot. Also, anybody can pull a dirty trick and throw sand in the eyes or say, look, and then punch when they look. That's called testing. You can use a skill, any skill, as long as you can come up with a convincing reason with your game master to convince them that you could use it to try to distract or make vulnerable an enemy. If you succeed, then you can give them negatives or your allies' bonuses against them. You can do the same thing with your allies. It's just called help. It's just called the aid or help action. You use a skill. You make a roll. If you succeed, they get a +1 to their next action or on the next turn. If you get a raise, another +1, adding on there. And I rule that if you get multiple raises, it's multiple pluses. Creativity in combat. So combat is no longer just I move, I get my action, and maybe a bonus action. The actions are pre-scripted. Nope. You literally get to just decide what you want to do. Can your character physically make the motions to do an action? Well, then you can do it, and it has an effect that feels satisfying. I love that about Savage Worlds. This has gone on pretty long. So anyway, thanks for watching my video. And if you have any questions, put them in the comments. It's kind of cool seeing people engage. I'm having people interact with it. I haven't been on social media in years. Hope you guys have some good gaming. Anyway, best of luck.